Okay, everybody, thank you for dropping in to the North Carolina Sheriff Police Alliance. Glad to have you watching in today. With our guest is former Randolph County Sheriff uh, Robert Groves. He was sheriff from 2014 to 2018, if I'm correct. I believe he was.
Yes.
And I'm gonna still refer to you as sheriff because once you earn that title, you deserve to keep that title. So we're going to talk to the sheriff and find out what's going on in Randolph County. And first of all, thank you for being here, Sheriff. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the job that you all do.
All right, and I'll explain real quick. Our forum and conversation. This is going to be a conversation with our candidates that are running for political office because uh, people running for office are very important people because those are the folks that are going to be out there. They're going to be out there and working hard and to be where they need to be to help those of us who are in the field where the rubber meets the road, where things are we're hitting the fan. I was going to say kind of hitting the fan, but they're hitting the fan. And today, with everything going on in law enforcement, it is very important that we elect the right people and the voters have an opportunity to actually listen to those they are electing. So this way, we're bringing straight to
Right.
you, and it's no hearsay. You're hearing it right from the candidate's mouth, and they're going to tell you. So without further ado, Sheriff, how about just open the floor up and tell us who you are and what you're trying to accomplish?
Thank you. As I said, I'm Robert Graves. I'm former sheriff of Randolph County, proud to have served, and I've uh, I'm a candidate for sheriff of Randolph County with 42 years of law enforcement experience. I am the only candidate who is a state certified law enforcement officer in Randolph County. I'm the only candidate that is certified and always has for 42 years been certified and sworn. So I think that's a great reason. I have a strong record of I have a proven strong record of conservative leadership in Randolph County. And I love serving as your sheriff, and I love Randolph County. And I know it's time for integrity, professionalism, and honesty to lead the sheriff's office because we deserve better. And I can give you better. I've had a proven record. I've ran good budgets for 3 years, very conservative with our spending of our taxpayer, of our tax money, my money, your money. And it's very important that we do things right and we get we want a professional organization to serve you in a most efficient and effective way that we can reduce crime and provide a better way of life for all of our citizens in Randolph County.
And Sheriff,
I've
every sheriff has a philosophy, right? Everybody has their own philosophy as a sheriff.
yes,
And sheriffs, a lot of sheriffs have similar philosophies, but some of them really have a totally different concept of what a sheriff's job is. So having the philosophy concept, what is your philosophy as being the sheriff for citizens in Randolph County?
my philosophy is working together, being bringing people together. It's all about people. It's all about relationships. It's all about communication. And I think that all together we can make Randolph County a great and safe place to live, work, and raise our families. We're going to build those relationships with our citizens. We're going to build those relationships with our public officials in Randolph County, our allied law enforcement agencies, as well as our state, federal agencies as well. Because if we're all on the same sheet of paper, we're all in the protection business to protect our citizens and to protect our county. So I have a good record of proven record of bringing people together and using our resources wisely to do that. Because the end of the day, we want a safe county. We want the drugs out of our county. We want crime down. We want it where you have a safe place to your children to go to school, to learn, and people to work, and you can enjoy yourself. You don't have to go out worried if somebody's going to come in right behind you and break in your house and steal things. So we're going to be working hard to pull people together and work as a team, including our citizens. It's all about communication because you're the eyes and ears out there in our community. And I look at it as a big community watch meeting in our whole county.
All right. Well, speaking of crime, as we know, there's plenty of it throughout our country, our nation, and right here in North Carolina. What are some of the things facing Randolph County today that you know and see, and what do you plan to do about that?
That's a good question. Obviously, our crime rates through the roof, our drugs are through the roof. I believe in strong enforcement, sustained enforcement on drugs, because a lot of you crime is pretty much uh, involved. People that are involved in drugs, they revert to crime to uh, maintain their habit. So uh, one thing builds off the other. So I think we have to have a strong effort in attacking our drug problem, and that goes along with our crime, because uh, people break into your houses to steal things that you worked hard to get and buy, that you need and want for your families and yourself, and then somebody come in there and steal it from you and go sell it for pennies just to go buy drugs. But my philosophy on that is that we're going to, by partnering with our citizens, because you know what's happening around you. Our citizens in all 803 square miles of Randolph County is a very large county. They know what's going on. By building those partnerships, because I want our officers out in the community, all parts of our county, not just working the interstates, but all out in our county, getting to know the citizens, and build that relationship to where the citizens feel comfortable to come to the officer and telling them about what's going on. And then we can formulate plans to do that. Study our data of our crime data to see what's happening around, and then we can formulate plans to do that. When I was in office, we put together formed a crime suppression unit, and it was made up of officers that were trained in the investigations and trained in drug narcotics, and also trained on patrol. So they had a very a good variety of experiences and training. And we put this team together just for that very reason, to attack our crime in our county. And so what we did was, by studying our data, our crime data, then we'd sit down, the captain of our investigations unit would sit down and put this together, and we'd all come in there and meet and pinpoint things that are going on and discuss those things. And then our plan was, we would send this crime suppression unit out in our communities and in those areas that we identified, and through license checks, stop and talk to people and like these type things. And a lot of the first initial thing was to gather intelligence of what's going on. Tell us, what do you see? What do you hear? All these kind of things. Then we'd come back in with that information. We'd formulate a plan of attack, so to speak, and we'd go out there and get in those areas and move that out. So, but it has to be a sustained effort. You can't go in there and expect to move crime out of an area or drugs, either one. If you go in there and hit something, get a press release and move on to something else. You have to, once you do that and you move that out and clear that out, then you have to maintain that with your citizens to let them know that you're going to still keep an eye on it. But then what that happens, when you show that you care about them, and they see that you're reactive and being proactive and reactive and responsive to their needs and wants and their communities, and you care, then that's going to make those relationships even stronger. So when we do have to go on to another area, because crime, it's kind of like one of those whack-a moles at the beach. When you played, you hit it one place, they pop up somewhere else.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like that. Criminals, that's their job. We have a job where we work hard and make money and make a living for our families. But their job is to figure out how to take it from you. And so we have to, sometimes you got to try to think like they do and learn how they move around. But that's my form of attack. I believe in strong, sustained enforcement, good communication, partnerships with not only our citizens, but our allied agencies, and to work together and move it out. And we can be very successful. We were before, and we can do it again.
It's like a game of hide and seek. You got to seek it out, and they try to hide it.
Yes.
And I used to tell people all the time, look, my job is to put you in jail if you're doing really bad, and I know your job is to try not to get there. Right. But it is what it is. It's just the game of life. You go out there and
Yeah.
do it, there are consequences. So you did speak about that. Now, crime as it relates to the school system, because crime is like a poison anyway, like poison ivy. It travels through and it hits our school
Right.
systems. What is your thought on how do we deal with that?
Okay, that's great. Schools are very important. I care about our schools. I care about our children. That's certainly a big emphasis of mine is protecting our children and protecting our senior adults and others that are vulnerable to people that prey upon them. And but our schools, we got to have a safe place. We got to have a safe environment for children to come learn. We also have to have a safe environment for the teachers to teach. We need to alleviate some of these problems so the teachers don't have to, they can do their job as being a teacher instead of having to try to be officers at the same way to intervene with some of these things that's going on. So one of the things I have currently, we have SROs in our middle and high schools. So, and the SROs do a great job, and that was a great, we had a very strong program by SROs, and part of their job is to be a liaison for law enforcement between the sheriff's office and the other agencies if we have to involve them, and the schools, the officials there, the teachers, and the parents as well. So we're there for them as well. So what my idea is, and I had already started on that project when I was in office before, I had met with the superintendent about, I think we need to have SROs in our elementary schools as well. Mm-hmm. And we started those discussions, and I believe we can make it happen. I know I can make it happen. It's just a matter of budgetary. It's a budget thing, plus about moving resources around and get things like we need to do it. Because I know we have the support from the teachers, and we have it from our parents as well. So, but because number one, I think it's important to have our SROs starting in elementary school, because children are exposed to so many things nowadays than probably we were growing up, and at an early age. It's unfortunate that it is. So the earlier we can, the younger that we can spend time with these children, quality time, that and talk about safety and talk about things that are going on, and things you should do, things you shouldn't do, and how you treat each other, respect, and a lot of these things, because the officers can start that process of teaching respect for themselves, teaching respect for their fellow students and their teachers, and and it builds that relationship with those, between the officer and that child. And a lot of times sometimes they go all the way up, because sometimes SROs move to other schools, and they may see them again in middle and high schools. And a lot of times they have built those bonds throughout. So also like to implement the be a buddy, not a bully program in our elementary schools, because we do have a problem with bullying. I mean, we've always had bullies. Even when I was in school way back, we had bullies, but seems like now that we have social media and so many more ways to communicate, instant communication. It used to be news, you just see it on a newspaper or on TV. Yeah. But now, as well as I do, the news is instant, and people can be very harmful, do some very harmful things on social media. Children and kids do it too. And so we can intervene on a lot of those things. So a couple of things that I feel like by having SRO there, number one is it maintains safety of the school. It maintains a safe environment for the kids to learn and the teachers to teach. But also it gives that officer an opportunity to interact with these kids, children and young people as they grow up. And they can see, sometimes it may have an opportunity for them to intervene in something that's going on in their life that could turn tragic, whether it's neglect, abuse, or even as they get older, some thoughts of suicide and things like this that are some emotional issues they may be going through that are going unchecked. And an officer, by being trained, have training to spot those things, then they have a chance to interact with those and change some of that, change some bad behavior, and maybe change a course that a child or a young person is going to cause them to do something they shouldn't do that would cause relatively harm to them, as well as have an impact on their future by making bad choices.
Absolutely.
So our schools are very important. The care and dare programs, I love the care and dare programs. I had the director of our dare program and care programs I said, when it's time for graduation, you put them on my schedule. I attended every care and dare graduation that we had, and it was difficult a lot of time, but I think it's important, not just for me being there, but important because I wanted them to see, even the teachers and parents, that I was concerned enough to be there, make time to come. And then I enjoyed it too, because you get to talk with the kids and see what they learn.
Anytime the top cop of the county shows up, it's always a good time to be there, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it opens up a forum. Because how many questions do people come up when you're standing off to your side that they wouldn't ask you openly? You know, so having
Right.
said all that, so you so looking at those programs, of course, it takes money and resources. And what have you found that you can do as far as the money, resources, the availability to tackle some of these problems, well, as it relates to whether it's the schools and crime in Randolph County?
That's a good question. That's always important. Budgets are always important. Money's important. Resources are important to be able to do the things that you want to do. I have a very good record of working with our commissioners. It's all about relationships. It's all about relationships. I have a strong relationship even today that's continued on with our commissioners. You know, I always told officers from day one, I said, I may not get everything I ask for, but I'm never going to stop asking if it's for your benefit and for our benefit, for the sheriff's office, and that it will benefit our service to the citizens. I'll never stop asking. They may not give it to me, and they can't sometimes because they have to, make a budget for the whole county.
Right.
But I have very good success with that because you can't work against them, and you shouldn't work against them because we're all in it together. We're all in it for the good of our county. Currently, the relationship's not very good with our commissioners, and I'll restore that with our commissioners. I had a very strong relationship with them before, and I will certainly restore that because we're all on the same team to get this done. Just to give you kind of an idea about that, how important that is. When I went in office, some of the things I did know by talking to officers prior to going in office about, there's always pay concerns. We've always had pay concerns in law enforcement, and I think we always probably could deserve more than what we get because of the hazards that we face every day in just doing our job, not only physically but emotionally. So when I went in office, I wanted to address that, and I talked to the commissioners and a county manager, and I told them I wanted to enter into a pay study to look at our pay, and because they said prior to that, the sheriff's office really didn't ever want to join into those things, and I said, well, I certainly do, because I don't care about any personality type thing. All I want is the most benefit for our officers and our staff. So we entered into that, and as a result of that, we had substantial raises for our employees for the years that I was in office. But I was very proud, very conservative with our budget. When I left, my philosophy is we were very conservative in the first half of our year. Just budget things out. The way I look at budgets, budget it all out for the year, and look at things we need, and let's and then at the midpoint of the year, we brought everybody in that was involved in those things, making decisions, and said where we're at in our budget. I want to know all where we are currently, and then we would see where we're at and move on out for the rest of the year. So the years that I was in office, I'd only consecutively spent 38% of our budget on things we'd spent in the first 6 months. So but we still was able to operate efficiently and operate effectively. We didn't do without anything we needed. So by doing that, because you never know when there will be emergencies pop up that you have a need for money that you, and then there's also, then what's good about that is then you can say, okay, now give me your wish list, what you want. So all of our divisions, I would ask the division commanders to talk with your people and your deputies that are working your division, and put a priority list together of what you think you need, you want, and then now we know where we're at with our money, and we're ready if we do have an emergency or something pop up. Then we can look at things, and we was able to get a lot of things that they had been wanting just by good budgeting, and then, but make no mistake about it, even though it's very conservative, and you can call it tight or whatever you want to call it, we never did without. We always took care of the needs. We had uniforms, we had automobiles, we had cars that were safe and for the officers to drive, and we were able to perform at a high quality of service to our citizens, and by doing those things. So I had a great compliment by the longtime chairman of the board of commissioners. He's still chairman, matter of fact, and been on the board for over 30 years. He told me that I was the best sheriff with a budget in 15 years. And I took it as a huge compliment, because he's a very wise and man with county affairs and been doing those things. So, that's very important to me, but we'll work hard. The budget has grown expeditiously since I left. Our last budget was about 19.5, and now it's up to 25, over $1 million, 25, and still seems like every month they're asking for more money. So it's just a matter of knowing how to manage money and knowing how to have those relationships where you can work with them to have that give and take and get things that you need.
All right, and on that thought too, talk about money and things you need, which some of the difficult areas in every county right now, and every county or township throughout the country, they're having the same problems, and it's drugs and mental health, and many times they run in, together. So, and there's a big drug problem out there now for what's coming across the border, and it's only getting worse. So, in that factor, how would you handle those issues in Randolph County also?
That's a great question, and certainly we talked a little bit about the drugs, but a lot of things going on now with certainly started with the opioids, but now we have the fentanyl coming through, and these very, very dangerous drugs that are coming around. And it's as I said before, I believe the way you attack those is by working throughout a county and building those relationships. When I left office, they dismantled the crime suppression unit and put together a interdiction team. And I know there's a place for that, and I've been around it a long time, but we don't have. I just think it's better served having our deputies in the community. This whole county's suffering, except for the 10 miles of interstate. When you have 8, 10, 12 officers up there stopping one car, and I just think it's a waste of resources there where they need to be out in the community. Certainly, by having those partnerships with our DEA and allied agencies, the SBI, and all those folks that are heavily involved in monitoring the drug problem and things that are coming and going. And we had an officer on the DEA task force too, and that was very beneficial, not only when it came to federal forfeiture seizures and money that we could use for law enforcement purposes, but also for intelligence, because that officer got firsthand things that were going on. So while you're doing these things out in the community and monitoring the drugs and those things, you still have that intelligence going to where if you hear of something coming through up the interstate from Georgia to New York, or Texas to New York, Mexico to New York, back and forth, Florida, then you can plan of attack and how you're going encounter that when it comes through our county. So a lot of those things are in place. But we used there's laws on the books that we can use to when we're trying to attack the drug problem. And we partnered with ALE, we partnered with the SBI, and obviously DEA and the attorney in the U.S. Attorney's Office to hopefully take some of those folks federal to where they can get a little more. A lot of times it's quicker, plus they can get some more time sometimes. So, but most of the time it's just the federal prosecutions go a little faster than state does because the backlogs in our state courts. So, but what we used several times is the nuisance abatement law, which allows you to, if you have say a house or a building or structure that is used for drugs, or crime that's happening there, or have headquartered out of there, some things is going on, and you build a case on that house of continuous drug activity, criminal activity, and all these things, then there's a procedures in place to where you can seize that property and have it sold, and the money go to the taxpayers. So we did that on 3 different occasions. One is just for an example. We had a neighborhood in Asheboro that the citizens, it had got so bad there, and we were trying to help them, and so we had meetings with them, and they said, what can we do? What can we do? So we talked about and learned those things. So I said, well, we've got to come. Y'all are coming together. That's what it's going to take, and we're going to be here and partner with you. We're going to work with you to find a solution for this. So they actually formed a little group that when they would see things, they would communicate it, and our officers were tagged in on that as well. So we built a case on this one particular house in that area and we used the probation parole partners with as well. So we went in, number one, we went in there and with assistant probation parole, we went in because they had some people on there that was on parole, obviously. And we sit them all down. We got them all out and sit them out on the patio, matter of fact. Everybody's out there in the carport. That's carport, not patio. And we told them, say, okay, here's the deal. This is going on. We know what's going on. The neighbors are tired of it. They don't feel safe. Their kids can't get out. They don't feel comfortable out walking through the neighborhood, and it's going to stop. It's going to stop. The process starts today, right now. We're not going to leave. You're going to leave. So we gave them the right act, told them all about it, what for, and all these kind of things. I said, here's your chance to stop this activity or find you another place, move out of county, or whatever you need to do. And so we did that. Next phase we did, we met with a homeowner of that property who was leasing it out. Matter of fact, they leased it to one person, then they subleased it to several people. That's just kind of how it works sometimes in drug houses. And so we met with a homeowner and said, same deal. We said, this is what's going on. We already had a lot of information there, so we could talk about it. It wasn't just, we heard this, we heard that. We knew for a fact things that were going on because we observed it. So we met with them and said, here's the deal. We're going to give you the opportunity to clean your property up, get these people out, or whatever you need to do, and make it a better fit for the community, where you can be a part of the community instead of a nuisance to the community. So, and I said, or here's the forms and here's the law. And we had the SBI agent, the ALE agent, matter of fact, went with us, and that was specialized in that and laid it out for them, helped us lay it out to them as well. So we did that, and we had great results from that. The end results was the homeowner finally said, I'm tired of y'all coming here and visiting me and all these things. I don't want to be the person that's causing problems in our community. I don't want to be that person. So they were good people. So they finally moved them out, sold the house, and the neighborhood was so much better. And we did on a couple other occasions. We were working that same, so it works really good. Uh, one more thing, just to give you an example of how we partnered with our community. We had an area in East Ashboro. It was just right on the border of Ashboro city limits in the county, and the citizens were the same way by getting to know the citizens doing community watch meetings in those areas and different things. They had a little corner, like a block, that people had moved in, and they set up little makeshift camps in there, and they were selling drugs, prostitution, all kinds of stuff going on in there. So, and they said, we don't know what to do. We can't stand this no more. It's not safe. We don't even go out after dark. So what we did, we went in there. I called the county manager. I said, hey, I need some help from your maintenance folks. So we talked to them. We took a dump truck and a skid steer loader over there one day. Had help. We took inmates out of the jail, some working inmates, and we went in there and cleaned that block up. I was out there with them. We got a video. It's on our Facebook page. But we cleaned that out. We moved stuff, took 2 loads to the dump, and we posted signs. And we talked to the people around it, and the people that had been in there too, and told them this is stopping. So it was a great thing. The community was just elated by it, because they said, "Oh, this is so nice now." But we didn't just leave it. We kept touch with the people there, and we monitored that to make sure it didn't pop right back up. So that's just the way I like to do things. I think you got to hit it head on. Got to be responsive to the citizens. You got to be proactive, and let them know you mean business. I tell them, I say, I'm gonna give it to you gun barrel straight. I'm not going to tell you something and just to make it sound good to you. If I tell you something, I'm gonna do it and do everything I can to follow through with what I do, because I wouldn't want it in my neighborhood. I wouldn't want it around my grandchildren where they live. So you shouldn't have it either.
Well, then it kind of runs into another concept here, or another question. The jail population and the detention facilities. So you have a lot of issues within the jail with the population that they're coming in, and then how do you deal with that population, and then the detention officers or the deputies that are working in the jail while supporting them at the same time?
That's a great question. The detention center is a very important place. It's a high liability area, but it's a tough place. It's a tough job, and I respect those folks that work at detention center, those officers. I mean, that's a tough job, and they do it every day, do a great job, and I appreciate what they do and can't thank them enough. And that's one thing that we, when I was in office, I addressed with our pay. Was there was a huge disparity in pay between our detention officers and the deputies working in the other areas of the sheriff's office, including the supervisors. As a result of that pay, when they asked me, what do you want out of this pay study? I said, I want what would be the most beneficial to our employees. I want pay equity, because we have kind of like 2 different pay scales. The detention center, jail, the rest of the sheriff's office is like 2 different scales. And I said, a deputy should be a deputy, a sergeant should be a sergeant, lieutenant should be a lieutenant, captain should be a captain. It don't matter where you're at, because you have this, every person in the sheriff's office is important, and they have an important job to do to make the whole sheriff's office run in an efficient and effective manner. So plus, you talk about the career ladder. When we had promotions before, when we had openings come open in jail, we say, well, who's interested in making promotion to a sergeant, a corporal, lieutenant? Well, you didn't have that many from the rest of the part of the sheriff's office, because they knew, I'm not going to, they don't make the money, basically. There's a big pay difference. So we addressed that in that pay study. So now it's the same, and it cut that problem out. So we helped our officers with money, and I'll continue to do that. I'll fight for all of our officers, including detention, every day to make sure they get the things they need as far as their money. I also addressed in office, when I took office, I was assessing all parts of the sheriff's office to see the wants and needs of our offices and just to see what kind of shape it was in. So I visited the detention center and took a tour and talked to the officers and all the staff down there. And I immediately noticed we were grossly overcrowded. The facility was needed lots of updates. We didn't have space for our special populations. Now things have changed so much. Now you have to have a special populations where you can segregate people based on people that are suffering from mental illness, emotion, or drugs, and a lot of these different things have to have they can't be in the general population, so it had to be segregated. And the facility wasn't equipped for that, because the older jails, you didn't have that. Everybody was just put in together for the most part. So looked at all those things, and lots of needs, a lot of safety concerns for our officers, a lot of safety concerns for our inmates, because the law requires us to provide a safe environment for the inmates to be housed, and do your best to keep them safe. And that's a tough job sometimes. But my number one thing is to make sure our officers are safe. Our staff and officers are safe. That's my number one priority. So by doing that, I brought the commissioners in after the manager and brought them all in independently and took us tour, let them talk to people and just sit back and listen and watch. And then I asked them, I said, what do you think? And they all kind of had the same kind of feelings I did. And as a result of that process, they asked me to submit a report to the commissioners, and we have started a process for renovations and expansion of our facility, which the expansion opened last summer, and the renovations are still continuing. So that's a great thing. Another thing is to try to make things safer for our officers. I've implemented body cameras for our detention officers. And we didn't just throw it in there on them and say, here they are, y'all got to use them. What I did was, and the way I do everything, I brought it in, we talked to the company and said, can we use a trial basis? So we brought them in and had the officers use them for 90 days and then give an assessment of what they thought. And they liked it because, number one, it made them feel better because they knew they had some kind of proof to substantiate the things that they're observing, the complaints that are generated by the inmates. But the biggest thing was there was an immediate notice in change of attitude with the inmate when those officers had that camera on, because they knew they were being filmed. And when they go to court all dressed up in a suit and the judge says, what kind of inmate were they? And the attorney said, oh, they're great people. All they said, well, not quite. Here's some footage of how they really act. So it was a great deterrent for that. And unfortunately, they were taken away from those officers and given to patrol. And then I think, I don't know if they've maybe bought some more now, but that was a great thing for officers. They made them feel safer, and it made the environment safer. That is very important, and I'll always be out for those folks as well.
That's interesting. I've always about the ones on the road, but I've never heard tell about putting them in the jail. That's unique, very different. I think that's a totally different approach than most folks take. So, like you say, I don't know how they're acting today like that, but this is how they acted yesterday. That's always and going into the commissioners and inviting them down to the jails and stuff. It's amazing what you see when you're willing to go check it out and go in it with open eyes.
Right.
If you've never been there, it's always the best thing to go check it out. So great job. That's a good job to do things like that. Now on the next, if you're standing at the polls and one of those voters or two of the voters come up to you and they say, Sheriff, why should I vote for you? What are you going to tell them?
Well, I'm going to tell them just kind of like I said before, I'm Robert Graves, 42 years of law enforcement experience. and I'm the only person candidate that's certified law enforcement. So I think it means a lot to be certified and sworn, because you stay abreast on the laws, you know what's going on. But another thing is, I'll just tell them, I say, this is my passion. This is what I do. I've been in law enforcement most all of my life, and I care about you. I care about our citizens, and I care about uh, our children. I care about our officers, and what I will do is work every day to represent you in the most professional way, and to have a sheriff's office that you can be proud of, officers can be proud of, and that we operate in an efficient and effective manner. I'll be very conservative with your money, tax money, my money, and to make sure we spend it wisely, and to get the most bang for the buck, so to speak. So, but I'll fight for you every day, and 7 days a week, and I'll be here to protect you, and do everything possible. I'll conduct myself on and off the job. You won't ever see me in the headlines with bad behavior. It's not going to happen. So, but please support and vote Graves for sheriff. We need change in our county, and because you deserve better. We all deserve better. And so I say I need your vote, and I ask for your vote. I appreciate it.
And I don't have a question for the dog too, right? So, he just tell me it's a rough job. Okay. My wife tells me quit trying to be funny all the time. It don't work. But anyway, so that note, on a personal level, what would you want the voters to know about you on a personal level? Who are you personally?
Yeah. Good. I've been married for 41 years to my wife, Donna, and I have two grown children and two wonderful grandchildren. My son is a trooper with State Highway Patrol, a veteran Army, and received Purple Heart in Afghanistan. And praise Lord, he survived that assault that he did, was able to continue with what he wanted to do and what he dreamed about. My son-in-law is a trooper as well. And I'm in First Baptist Church in Asheboro, and I'm a deacon and singing in the choir. And another thing, my wife and I, we started doing when I was in office, and we continue to do. We visit churches because we love to see people, and we love to see people on a personal basis, and see different styles of worship and get to know them on there. So, but I love getting out and helping people, and I think God gives us all a purpose, and if we're lucky enough in life, we learn what that purpose is and get to fulfill that. And I know that's what I've done. My purpose is law enforcement, and doing what I can to help people, and that's my passion. But yeah. Well, we have a little Yorkie named Bella too. She's 6 pounds of tongue and teeth.
I think we just met her. So,
Yeah.
and I will say, it's like anything. One thing we talk about here at the North Carolina Sheriff Police Alliance, we don't mind talking about our faith in God and our belief.
Right.
A lot of folks don't do that today, and we probably need more of that. And in God we trust. It's on our money. It's
yeah.
Some of them put on the patrol cars. So that never hurt to see that.
Well, that's one thing that I'm glad you mentioned that. I did do when I was in office. I put "In God We Trust" on all of our vehicles. We've got a nice press release in Channel 2 and Channel 8 came down and did it. We have a release, but I did that, and very proud of that. And so I started that in our county on our cars, and the officers loved it. And I never will forget some of the greatest things. I'd be sitting in traffic sometimes, and somebody would come by and roll the window down and say, "Thank you for putting that on the cars. We appreciate that." And I said, "Well, I believe in it, and it's important."
Well, that's pretty good. I didn't know that. That was I saw that across the state, some of the cars and some across the country, and I thought that was very folks willing to stand up for God and doing the right thing. So, well, that concludes our conversation with the former sheriff of Randolph County, Robert Graves, and now you've heard him. He's told you who he is, and it's up to you, the voter, to make a decision. Folks, this is a tough election year, and a lot of bad things happening. And there is a war on police, like we've never seen before with the ambushes and everything else going on. So when you go vote, make the right choice, make the right selection, and thank you most of all for checking in here and listening to the candidate for sheriff in Randolph County. And be real, be safe, and always, always be ready. And that will conclude our conversation with the sheriff at this time.